The story of Andrea Absolonová, also known by her stage name Lea De Mae, is one that encapsulates the complexity of personal transformation, the resilience of the human spirit, and the harsh realities of public perception. Born on December 26, 1976, in Prague, Czechoslovakia, Andrea began her life on a trajectory marked by discipline, dedication, and national pride. She rose to prominence as a member of the Czech national diving team, excelling in high diving and competing at the highest levels of her sport. Yet her life took an unforeseen turn, leading her into the world of entertainment under the pseudonym Lea De Mae. Her sudden death from brain cancer in 2004 at the age of 27 tragically truncated a life filled with promise and contradiction. Placing her narrative within a broader context, Andrea's life reflects significant themes in late 20th century and early 21st century Europe, including the socio-political transition of post-communist nations, the shifting perceptions of female autonomy, and the often controversial intersections between athleticism, celebrity, and sexuality. Her journey raises vital questions about personal agency, societal judgment, and the multiple roles a woman can embody within her lifetime. This video argues that Andrea Absolonová's transformation from national athlete to film actress is emblematic of the broader struggle for identity, agency, and recognition in a post-Cold War Europe that was rapidly redefining cultural norms. By examining the dichotomies in her life, discipline versus desire, fame versus anonymity, and dignity versus stigma, we can better understand the societal forces that shaped her choices and the legacy she left behind. Andrea Absolonová was born during a period of significant political tension and transformation in Eastern Europe. Growing up in a country that had been under communist rule for decades, Andrea's early life was marked by a cultural ethos that placed high value on discipline, collective achievement, and national representation. The state heavily invested in sports as a means of showcasing its prowess and ideological superiority, and athletes were often held in the same regard as political leaders and national heroes. With the fall of communism in 1989, when Andrea was just 13, Czechoslovakia entered a period of rapid political and economic transformation. The dissolution of the state into the Czech Republic and Slovakia in 1993 further disrupted long-established institutional structures. This had a profound impact on national sports programs, which suffered from decreased funding and public support as the nation turned its focus to economic liberalization and integration with Western Europe. Athletes like Andrea, who had once been state-sponsored, were left to navigate this new reality with little structural support. Despite these challenges, Andrea excelled as a high diver, reaching the pinnacle of national representation. However, the instability of the post-communist transition, combined with the inherent physical risks of high diving, left her career vulnerable. A spinal injury ultimately ended her athletic pursuits, a turning point that would lead her down a vastly different path. After her diving career was cut short, Andrea faced a harsh reality. The skills she had honed for years held limited value in a society now driven by market capitalism. Like many athletes whose careers end abruptly due to injury, she struggled to find a new identity and financial stability. It was within this vacuum that Andrea transformed into Lea De Mae, stepping into the world of erotic modeling. This transition was not merely an act of desperation but also one of agency. In an industry often criticized for exploitation, Andrea exercised a degree of control over her career that many of her contemporaries in more respectable professions did not enjoy. She chose her roles, managed her image, and became a recognized name in European cinema. Her performances were noted for their athleticism and confidence, traits likely inherited from her disciplined training as a diver. However, her decision to enter the industry also exposed her to intense public scrutiny and moral judgment. In conservative circles, especially in Eastern Europe, her career change was viewed as a fall from grace. Yet to others, Andrea represented a form of empowered femininity, a woman who refused to be a passive victim of circumstance and instead used the tools available to her to redefine her narrative. Andrea's dual identities as an athlete and an actress were often framed in stark contrast by the media. On one hand, she was celebrated as a national sportswoman who had once carried the hopes of her country. On the other, she was vilified or sensationalized as a star who had wasted her potential. This dichotomy reflects a broader societal discomfort with women who transgress traditional boundaries of sexuality and professionalism. Media coverage of Andrea tended to focus on the scandal of her transition, rather than the systemic issues that might have contributed to it, such as the lack of support for injured athletes or the limited opportunities available to women in post-communist societies. Furthermore, her illness and eventual death from brain cancer at the age of 27 added a tragic dimension to her story, further feeding a narrative of downfall rather than one of complexity and resilience. The cultural stigma surrounding entertainment meant that Andrea's legacy was often dismissed or reduced to a cautionary tale. Yet this perception overlooks the nuances of her life, including the courage it took to reinvent herself and the dignity with which she faced her final illness, publicly acknowledging her condition and connecting with fans who offered support. Andrea Absolonová's life story is not easily categorized. She was both a disciplined athlete and a sensual performer, a national icon and a marginalized figure. Her legacy invites us to reconsider our assumptions about success, failure, and the roles women are allowed to play in society. In many ways, Andrea's story is one of survival and reinvention, marked by both triumph and tragedy. Her life serves as a mirror to the contradictions of modern womanhood: the pressure to conform to societal norms, the struggle for economic independence, and the desire for personal authenticity. Her courage to live on her own terms, even in the face of judgment and illness, is a testament to her strength. In remembering Andrea Absolonová, we are compelled to move beyond simplistic narratives and embrace a more compassionate and holistic understanding of human experience. Her story challenges us to confront our biases and to honor the full spectrum of a life that defied expectations and dared to be seen. Andrea Absolonová's journey from Olympic hopeful to film star is not just a tale of personal transformation but a powerful lens through which to examine societal change, gender roles, and the complexities of identity. Her life reflected the upheaval of post-communist Europe, the challenges faced by women in navigating professional and personal agency, and the public's discomfort with those who defy conventional paths. By exploring her story with nuance and empathy, we affirm that identity is not static and that every individual has the right to define their own legacy. Andrea's choices, while controversial to some, were acts of autonomy in a world that offered her few easy options. Her legacy lives on not only in her athletic and cinematic achievements but also in the questions she forces us to ask about judgment, dignity, and the human capacity for reinvention. As we reflect on her life, let us choose to honor not just what Andrea was, but what she represents: the courage to change, the strength to endure, and the dignity to live authentically, even when the world refuses to understand. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content like this, please consider subscribing to our channel. By subscribing, you'll be notified when we upload new videos. Thank you again for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video.